Welcome to True Crime Junkies. I'm your host Yda. It was a chilly Halloween night in 1973. The streets of Fond du Lac, Wisconsin were alive with excitement, the kind only children can create. Pumpkins glowed on porches, the smell of burning leaves hung in the air, and 9-year-old Lisa in French could hardly contain her joy. Halloween was her favorite night of the year. Lisa lived with her mother, stepfather, and little brother in a quiet neighborhood. She was known for her kindness and shy smile, the kind of kid teachers adored and neighbors trusted. That year, she dressed up as a hobo, a simple homemade costume, a green parka, jeans with blue tape patches, a black felt hat, and freckles painted on her cheeks. She had planned to trick-or-treat with her best friend, and Parker. But that evening, and got grounded, and Lisa decided to go alone. She told her mom she'd be careful, promised to stay close, and left home just before 6 o'clock. It was supposed to be just a few houses, a fun, safe night before heading to a neighborhood Halloween party. Lisa knocked on a few doors. One was her teacher's house, where she proudly showed off her costume. Then she continued toward the home of a man her family knew well, Gerald Miles Turner Jr., a 25-year-old neighbor who lived 3 doors down. He was friendly enough, someone the kids in the area saw often. He and his girlfriend, Arlene Penn, had even chatted with Lisa before. But that night, something went horribly wrong. When Lisa didn't return home, her mother grew worried. At first, she told herself maybe Lisa had gone to the Halloween party. But as the hours passed, dread crept in. By 7:30 p.m., the party had ended, no one had seen her. At 10 p.m., police were notified. A massive search began almost immediately. More than 5,000 volunteers joined the hunt, police, National Guard members, neighbors, and parents carrying flashlights. The whole community came together, combing through fields, parks, and wooded areas. Posters with Lisa's photo were taped to store windows. Reporters arrived. The city of Fond du Lac was consumed by fear and disbelief. For 3 long days, there was no sign of her. Then, on November 3rd, a farmer named Gerald Braun was out in his field near Yda, about 10 miles away. Behind a barbed wire fence, he noticed 2 brown plastic garbage bags. When he opened them, he found Lisa's body in one, and her clothes in the other. The medical examiner's report was devastating. Lisa had been sexually assaulted and killed by asphyxiation. She had also suffered blunt force trauma. The innocence of that small Midwestern town was gone in an instant. Police zeroed in on known sex offenders, local workers, and neighbors. Among the first they interviewed was Gerald Turner. He lived so close to the French family, and he had been home that night. Turner seemed nervous during questioning but denied involvement. He claimed he'd spent the evening watching TV and waiting for his girlfriend to return home. With no physical evidence at the time, investigators couldn't arrest him. Months passed. Then, in August 1974, 9 months after Lisa's murder, investigators brought Turner in again for questioning. This time, he confessed. According to his own statement, Lisa had come to his door that night, said trick or treat, and he invited her inside to see his girlfriend's costume. Once inside, he forced himself on her, then strangled her when she began to cry. He later said he panicked and tried to revive her, but when she didn't wake up, he wrapped her body in plastic bags and drove out to the country to dispose of it. Turner described the horrifying details in cold, matter-of-fact language. He even told detectives that he'd worn socks on his hands while handling Lisa's clothes so he wouldn't leave fingerprints. After dumping her body, he cleaned up, hid the evidence, and returned home as if nothing had happened. His confession shocked everyone, not just because of the brutality, but because the killer was a trusted neighbor. In 1975, Turner was convicted of second-degree murder, enticing a child for immoral purposes, and sexual perversion. He was sentenced to 38 years and 6 months in prison. For Lisa's family, it wasn't enough, but at least, they thought, justice had been served. Over the years, the case became a turning point in how America viewed Halloween safety. Parents who once let their kids roam freely now set strict curfews. Police departments across the country began to warn families to stick to well-lit areas. And while urban legends about poisoned candy spread like wildfire, Lisa's murder was one of the few real cases that gave those fears weight. But the story didn't end there. After serving just over 17 years, Turner was paroled in 1992. The community erupted in outrage. Residents protested outside his halfway house. Parents refused to let their children walk to school. People wrote letters, demanding he be sent back to prison. Turner violated his parole the following year and was reincarcerated. He would be released again, then sent back again, over technical violations. Eventually, Wisconsin lawmakers passed what became known as Turner's Law, officially, Chapter 980 of state law. It allowed the state to commit sexually violent offenders to secure treatment facilities even after their prison terms ended if they were deemed dangerous. Lisa's death literally reshaped the law. Her mother, Marianne, later said, "No sentence can ever bring her back." But if her story can save one child, maybe there's some purpose in that. Today, more than 50 years later, Lisa's name still resurfaces every October. Local newspapers retell her story as a reminder of vigilance. In Fond du Lac, families light candles on Halloween in her honor. For many, Lisa and French became a symbol, not of fear, but of the innocence that must be protected. What makes this story so haunting isn't just what happened that night, it's how ordinary it all seemed. A little girl in a costume. A familiar neighborhood. A trusted face at the door. The kind of night that could happen anywhere. There's something deeply unsettling about crimes that happen on holidays. Halloween especially carries that eerie overlap between fantasy and fear. For one night, people wear masks, knock on strangers' doors, and trust the world to stay kind. Lisa's case shattered that trust. If you talk to longtime residents of Fond du Lac, they'll tell you how the community changed overnight. Trick-or-treating hours were moved to daylight. Police patrols increased. Parents accompanied kids house to house. Every bag of candy was double-checked. And behind every precaution was the memory of Lisa's smile. Even now, when newscasters talk about Halloween murders, Lisa's name is one of the first mentioned. Her story isn't folklore, it's fact. Gerald Turner, the man who took her life, has spent decades in and out of prison. As of recent updates, he remains under civil confinement as a sexually violent person. He is now in his 70s. When asked once why he did it, Turner claimed he just lost control. But to Lisa's family, that explanation meant nothing. Their daughter's life ended before it truly began, and every Halloween that followed became a painful reminder. As we look back on that 1973 night, it's important to remember that behind every headline, there's a human story. Lisa wasn't just a victim, she was a child who loved animals, who helped her mom in the kitchen, who had dreams she never got to chase. Halloween will always have its share of chills and shadows, but her story reminds us that the real monsters rarely wear costumes. So when you see kids trick-or-treating this year, their laughter echoing under porch lights, take a moment to think of Lisa and French. Remember the lesson her tragedy taught us: protect innocence, guard the vulnerable, and never assume safety just because danger looks familiar. Because on that cold Halloween night in 1973, a community learned the hard way that evil doesn't always come from strangers in masks. Sometimes, it's the friendly neighbor with the porch light on. This has been True Crime Junkies. Thank you for listening, and may we keep every child safe this Halloween.